find a friend, a true MC that's down with you to the end. Someone who can explain what you doing, sorta like KRS with DJ Revolution. What are we proving? DJing and MCing together is hip-hop's true fusion. DJ, stand up for the culture. Don't just grab a check. These motherfuckers won't be here next year. What you gonna do when they fire your ass? Man, you better stand with the people. DJ Revolution, the original. Power. The DJ.
Hope you're still with us. I haven't listened to the track that Roy just introduced, so this iffy language, I've got no clue what he means yet, and it's certainly going to get me listening to the show later on when it's published. Roy, have you got any other bits of news that you want to bring up?
Well, several things. Have you heard about the situation in Bristol and open source in the in the local authorities? There was quite a discussion about the fact that the friends of Microsoft, or a company associated with the status quo and the so-called oligopoly of companies in the UK which sell proprietary software, including Windows, and trying to impose this on the public through taxpayers' funds and stuff like that. They were having a bit of a victory in Bristol because Bristol was trying to move towards open source for a while. And they basically decided at the end not to. So that was a bit of an interesting story. The thing which occurred to me though is if you look back at the comments made around 2008 or 2009, previous migrations, you usually find that there is a lot of huddling around and bullying out of any company which comes into the market and offers something else, and it usually includes open source and free software, things like that. So that's kind of close to home, and actually I should say involves in part my employer as well. So that's a bit of bad news, I guess. But it just in some ways it helps illustrate the situation we have in the UK when it comes to open source, and in the United States too. It's really hard to get past the politicians and systems and people around the positions of power who are very much kind of awed by the big brands like Microsoft and are very helpful to them. I think it's a bit different in countries which are more skeptical of these brands and companies, countries which suffered a lot. In places like South America, or countries which are very suspicious of the West, like China, for example. So in China, I think quite a few people use Linux, and I saw some figures recently. It seems like quite a few of them now buy all kinds of versions of Linux and things, and because China really likes to put something that at least the way it's delivered to the customer should be legal at some degree. So they'll prefer to put some version of Linux and stuff like tablets and phones and stuff, and a lot of it is Linux based. So this is where I believe we should look forward to change when it comes to acceptance of open source, and Android is one successful example of the adoption of free software. Another one is Apache. Linux is doing extremely well in many areas as well. But here in the UK and the US, you see lots of Apple versus Microsoft type of indoctrination. You have two choices, like the R&D in the United States is not really research and development, it's Republicans and Democrats, and you can choose one of these two, and they very much distract from the other choices, which are less centrist and less subject to the corporate interest. So here too, you still have this very dual system of mostly like Apple versus Microsoft and IBM versus HP, and lots of the other smaller players don't really get much visibility, which bothers me quite a bit. So yeah, that's. I should. I wanted to add something. I think you'd like to comment on that. Have you heard anything about what happens with .NET in Windows, especially in future versions of Windows, such as Windows 8? The developers are kind of up in arms now, and it seems like Microsoft is kind of abandoning some of the plans and some of the promises they had when it comes to APIs and when it comes to how to develop for future platforms of Windows.
I mean, that's, and I've only read a few different sources of that particular news, but it doesn't come as a surprise. For me, and I think I've said it many times on my site in the last probably 8 months, Microsoft to me of late seems to be slinging the mud at the wall and hoping something will stick. We've seen so many different schemes and ideas and different directions, and is this packet product dead or is it still alive? Is it going to be on Windows Phone 7? Is it part of Windows Phone 7? Is it not? It seems to me that Microsoft is shooting in all directions in the hope it'll hit something and get a success. I haven't read fully into all the press releases in respect of that, or news reports in respect of that, but maybe if there's something else that you've got to...
Yeah, they're losing lots of inertia now when it comes to developers. There was a time when lots of people had to develop for Windows, but now increasingly when you have these tablets and phones and things like that, lots of developers are trying to go for those so-called app stores, and I think app store is a trademark, but anyway. In here, once again, you see that they don't make very compelling products when it comes to developers, SDKs and things like that. In the case of Silverlight, have you heard anything about it in the past, 2 years, not even 1 year? I think the past 2 years. Have you heard about any company moving to Silverlight and announcing something?
The only mentions I hear of it are from Microsoft sources, and they've been in relation to Windows Phone 7, and that has been it.
How do they demonstrate? If you were to go into a Microsoft website and they had a video, what do you think it'll be in? What format and what enclosure would it have?
Yeah, well, like I said, I don't know. I haven't been to the official Microsoft site for a while. I've had various links to certain pages, but I don't know what they're using to.
Because I think they very often use Flash now.
Yeah,
I realize not many people. That's what I'm going at.
Yes, somebody said that before. To be honest, I didn't know for definite myself, so I didn't particularly want to say that. But I certainly think that's certainly the case on some of its pages. It's preferring other products other than its own. Yeah. I think we saw a few disasters in relation to Silverlight over the years that when people have used it. I think I'm desperately trying to rack through my little notes here to see if I can pull up any sites and people that were facilitating it and then dumped it. But no, I can't. I haven't got anything to hand. Sorry.
As long as they probably do get payments on lots of the videos because they still support the MPEG patents in some ways. And even if they use Flash, they're still using what's becoming somewhat of a nightmare for a video giant like Google. And let's face it, online Google is a huge video giant now. That they handle something like over 1 billion videos a day. And by the way, they move now to WebM, of course. And I think recently we learned something about the progress they make converting everything in YouTube to WebM. And you could actually add some options and change the URL to force it to play WebM if it's available. And our show as well, all the previous episodes of TechBytes will soon be available in WebM as well as Ogvorbis, but they will be hosted basically by Google. So it's just another option, I guess, but just something to have around. And in the case of video, that's just going to be a really major improvement because you'll be able to play things in the browser without having to install a plugin that's binary, that contains lots of security holes. And even if it does have some security holes, the web player, the media player of the video, it will be patched along with the browser, so it's going to be a lot easier to basically manage things like that.
Well, for the last topic of the day, I'm going to give this over to you, Roy. If there's anything that you would like to bring up, I'm busy playing catch up, so hopefully when Rusty appears for the next show, which will be released hopefully in a few days, we'll have some more news. But is there anything else that you would like to bring up?
I'm just looking down the list of the last 100 or so posts that I made in my site, Almost on a daily basis, I write about patents, and I'm not sure you've heard about Mrs. Wilcox in the UK. She's doing the so-called IP stuff in here.